Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome back to our YouTube channel once again. And it is my hope and prayer that this video is actually going to find you guys in good health. Personally, I am fine. As you can see, Kisumu is also fantastic. And maybe you could also let me know where you're watching the video from, the county or the country, in case you are out of the Republic. Ladies and gentlemen, is William Samoei Arap Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, turning into a dictator? Are we seeing another making of Moi? That is the question which most Kenyans are currently asking. Yesterday, William Ruto was in Kisii, and he made a certain comment that has really caused serious political storm in the Republic of Kenya. And Raila Odinga has actually responded to that statement. Let's listen into William Ruto's statement when in Kisii.
Ama vijana wa Kisii wote wako na kazi. Vijana wa Kisii mko na kazi. Kila mtu wako na kazi. Si lazima tupange ajira. So yule mtu ambaye anaenda kotini ati anataka kuzuia ati tusijenga manyumba hawa vijana wapate ajira, ati tusifanye ile kazi yote ndio Kenya tubadilishe. Hawa ni watu ambao ni maadui wa taifa letu la Kenya, na mimi nataka niwahakikishie nyinyi mlimpatia uwezo hawa watu wote ambao wanataka kutuzuia, mimi nitapambana na wao. Mimi nahitaji tu maombi yenu, kwa sababu si mnajua nilipatiwa panga pale, nilipatiwa sword kubwa hivi. Wani mnafikiri hiyo sword ni ya kukata mboga? Si ni ya kufyeka wakora hawa? Ndawafyeka kabisa. Kenya itasonga mbele.
And that's not the first time William Ruto is warning Kenyans who are standing on his way. As a matter of fact, Okeya Omtata is the one who had taken the Kenyan government to court over that particular bill. Can we conclude that William Ruto is sending a serious warning to Okeya Omtata? But let us listen to the response by Muhisa Kitui to Ruto.
Kitu cha pili ningependa kusema, if we are celebrating Sifuna, we must celebrate the way he would have done it himself, that you do not tolerate deviated leadership. Ukiambia viongozi hupahotiri, we fought for the liberation of this country. We cannot be cowed today to look the other way when the gains that were made from that struggle are being subverted by opportunists who don't know what government is all about. Lazima tueleze wa Kenya ukweli mbele ya viongozi wanaharakati wenzangu. We did not fight for liberation of Kenya. Mtu kutuambia ati hii itafanyika wapende wasipende. Kwame wawe. If we banabama iwewe. You can't tell us I will have housing whether you like it or not. You don't own this country. We fought to stop that kind of primitive politics from permeating the public conscience of this country. Mukisherekea Sifuna lazima msherekee ukweli. Kwamba you cannot take up petroleum because of global prices. And when global prices come down, you keep prices up with a token reduction. We are not fools. Museme ukweli, we are not fools.
And from the direction William Ruto is taking, I can assure you, Kenyans are going to resist. And Raila Odinga has actually promised to stop Ruto. Because if they stopped Moi, who is Ruto? Listen in to Raila Odinga, because the statement by Raila Odinga is going to form the basis of this analysis.
Sheria zote zinatoka kwa ikulu zinapita. Kwa Kenya wako katika hali ya hatari. Kenya yuko katika mbaya zaidi. Mtu akisema mimi I'm unstoppable, hakuna mtu anaweza kunistopisha. Ni nani? Nyayo walisema yeye alikuwa ni unstoppable. Tulimstopisha. Tulimstopisha Nyayo. Kama tuliweza kumstopisha Nyayo, wewe ni nani? Wakenya watakustopisha. Kenyans will stop you. Kenyans have a right to stop you. Kenyans cannot be ruled in a manner that is not prescribed in their constitution. Wakenya walipigania hii katiba mpya. Hii katiba mpya ndio kinga ya Wakenya. Mtu asikuja kundanganya wewe ni mimi ndugu yako, mimi ni kabila yako, ndugu wa tumbo moja, hapana. Kitu muhimu zaidi ambayo itatetea wewe ni katiba. Na wakianza kujaribu kubadilisha katiba hapa na pale, ndivyo ilifanyika baada ya uhuru. Ndio tukaenda katika ile shimo kubwa zaidi. Hatutaki kurudi huko tena. Kwa hivyo tumesema mtu yeyote ambaye anataka kufanya vile sisi hatutaki kama Kenya, tutakataa. Mko tayari? Kenya, mko tayari?
I'm asking.
Mko
No,
tayari?
that's Raila Odinga. But what can Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance do to stop William Ruto? I've always opined on this platform that William Ruto is one of the easiest presidents to actually remove via the ballot in 2027. Because William Ruto has already become very unpopular. William Ruto made promises that he failed to deliver. The expectation of his supporters was so high, which means he has not met their expectation. The mountain are actually disappointed with William Ruto. So it's going to be very easy to remove William Samoei Arap Ruto. But it will only depend on Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance. What can they do to stop William Ruto? Because they can only stop him at the ballot, because William Ruto already has that sword and is bragging about it. So in this video, I want to give you some 6 things that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance must do if they are serious that they want to remove William Ruto from office in 2027. And there is no two way about it. But before you do that, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, allow me to dive in. But before I dive in, allow me to also thank the following people. You are seeing their names on the screen there for the coffee which they sent to me earlier. It goes a long way in supporting the channel. You can also do the same using the numbers you are seeing on your screen. A cup of coffee only goes for 200 bob, but you can do more, and I really appreciate. Ladies and gentlemen, what are some of the things that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance must do if they intend to remove William Ruto from office in 2027? Number 1, the first thing they must do, they must unite under one candidate. That is the only sure bet of removing William Ruto from office. For those who follow the politics of this country, in 1992, the opposition in the Republic of Kenya was very strong against the former president, Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. But what happened? Matiba stood, Jaramogi stood, Kibaki also stood. At the end of the day, Daniel Toroitich arap Moi emerged the winner by garnering 35% of the votes. A combined opposition had 65%. But they failed to achieve their objective, which was to remove Moi from office. And it did not just happen like that. Moi actually planned and plotted on how to stop the opposition. During that time, William Ruto was a young man, a youth for Kanu. So he was there, he saw and he knows how the former president dealt with opposition. So for opposition in the Republic of Kenya to win in 2027, let's forget about strategy, let's forget about any other thing. The first thing they must do is actually to stop their greed and agree on one candidate. So that's number 1. They must unite. If they don't unite, because for me, I'm seeing a situation where there's a possibility of Kalonzo Musyoka running. I'm also seeing a possibility of Martha Karua running. And I'm also not ruling out the possibility of Raila Odinga being on the ballot. What that will do is that they might deny William Ruto the 50 plus 1% votes, which means a runoff. So top 2 candidates will then go again and run after 3 months. Is it 3 months? Yes. That's where now William Ruto will come in. That unity, which they failed to agree on, one of them will side with Ruto. And that will tilt the equation. So if they are serious, the first thing they must do, let me just, I don't know whether I stand up for nikisema hii. The first thing they must do, unite. Otherwise, all these other speeches will not account for anything. So that's number 1. Number 2, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance, or the opposition for that matter, must also focus on voting process. Voting process. When does voting process begin in the Republic of Kenya and when does it end? Voting process begins at the registration. of new voters. I remember during the 2016 voter registration, where Jubilee would mess around with the Azimio strongholds. I mean, with the, that time it was NAC strongholds. Kids would not be available. You'll be told registration is in this point, you go that point, it is not there. So the voting process begins at the registration. The voting process begins at the registration of voters. So they must monitor the registration process, whether it's going to be skewed in favor of certain areas or not. Then they must also monitor the activities at IBC. Simply focus on the procurement. That is the area Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance failed in the last election. So they must also focus on the procurement. Which player is going to be given the tender for procuring the ballot boxes, the Kim's kit? The moment you ensure that that's above board, then you now focus on the election. On that election day, are they going to have enough agents? The question they should have asked themselves. Are they going to have enough agents? Once they answer that question, the second question would be, how are they going to protect their votes? Because in the last election, if Azimio had protected their votes, I can assure you, the number of votes we are told Raila got in Mount Kenya would be so high. Then they'll also be prepared on how they were going to ensure that the votes announced at the tallying station are the one which will be reflected at the tallying center. No two way about it. That's the only way. Without that preparation of voting process, that they're waiting for the election, campaigning, waste of time. So the first thing they must do, unite. Number two, follow the election process. Number three, they should now focus on taking advantage of Kenya Kwanza. Not just saying William Ruto, Kenya Kwanza has failed cost of living. They must come up with a strategy. And that would mean that they must develop a proper communication strategy. And that communication strategy is not about just posting pictures and videos of where Raila is, posting pictures and videos of Kalonzo Musyoka. It's a lot of work. Strategically, how do you persuade Kenyans that Kenya Kwanza has failed? What have they failed on? Are Kenyans able to really be ready to understand Kenya Kwanza failures? The specific ones, if it's about tax, if it's about cost of living, can they be able to explain? So a proper communication strategy. And they must be ready to invest, even in the Bunge la Wananchi. The people of like Geucha have done a good job. But I'm sure moving forward, Kenya Kwanza government will try to win the support of most of those people. They'll be bought. So the truth is, they must focus properly on communication. Without a proper communication, nobody will understand what they stand for. For example, right now, there are so many things they can take credit for. This government, if you ask me, has given them a lot of, I don't know, weapon for mass destruction, but they're not taking advantage of them. Number four, and this is also very important, they must create a euphoria. If Azimio were to unite around one candidate, then it means something must unite them around that candidate. Something must unite their supporters around that candidate. Let me take you back. In 2002, Kenyans united and were rallied about Moi must go. You can still remember that. So that was the rallying call. In 2027, opposition in Kenya must also have, I don't know what's happening to my neighbor's dog. I think anapewa chakula. So the opposition must also find a rallying call. In 2007, when Raila Odinga defeated Kibaki, although Kibaki never handed over the presidency, the rallying call was changed. The change you can believe in. You can still remember that. The change you can believe in. In 2013, Uhuru and Ruto used a simple message. The ICC, they used ICC to rally their supporters. So the ICC is what was used to create euphoria in the mountain and in Rift Valley. And that's how the mountain and Rift Valley rallied around the presidency of William Ruto, of Uhuru Kenyatta, because by that time, these guys had just come out of post-election violence. So the Kikuyus and the Kalanyas were not seeing eye to eye. So the rallying call was the ICC. Save Ruto, save Uhuru. In 2022, Ruto came up with a rallying call, the hustler. So for Azimio, they must have a rallying call and use that rallying call effectively to create a euphoria. Because let's face it, without a euphoria, very few Luos will turn out to vote, for example, for Kalonzo. Majority of Azimio of Raila Odinga supporters, support base, will not turn out to vote. So they need something. So that on the election day, most of those people will just leave their homes to go and vote against Ruto. Full stop. So they must get a rallying call. If they will fail to get a rallying call, whatever they'll be doing, zero. Number 5, which is my last point, is that they also need to create serious grassroots network. You can have support, but without a network, zero. I'm seeing UDA trying to do something, especially in Azimio strongholds. People are laughing at them, but they have their target. They might not really target a lot of people. Like, for example, in Nyanza, they might get 10%. That will be good for them. 10% of Nyanza has how many 2 million? That would be around 200,000. That would be good for them. They are trying to recruit people by creating networks. So you are recruited, you are given a job. You are recruited, you are given a job. So if you give 2,000 people jobs in Nyanza, then you believe they'll be able to bring 333 people. And you know that effect. So for Azimio to succeed, they need a strong grassroots support. So whether they're going to go as individual parties or as a coalition, it has to be grassroots oriented. For example, if they are to go via party, then it means Kalonzo Musyoka should be able to have a strong grassroots support in his stronghold. So that if Kalonzo Musyoka wants to talk to his guy in Nyakach, he will pick his phone and call him. Hey, Mr. Sumba, how are you? Mambo ni nani hivyo? What's happening down there? If he wants to talk to his contacts, ODM used to have that system. But I know over time, probably that system has a bit of being disoriented because of infection, people feeling they are not rewarded. But ODM used to have a very proper system where they would easily, like for example, if Raila Odinga wanted any information around whatever is happening in Kisumu here, that time he would simply call my friend Aduinyang or Makamu. Yeah, if he wanted something happening in social media, Raila would simply call me. I would tell him, okay, boss, this is what people are saying, you know. So that as much he would have his team who would lie to him, then he would also get that kind of feedback from real supporters. So they need that grassroots support network. Why do they need that? Simple. Turnout. The 2027 election was won on a turnout. William Ruto ensured that working very closely with Wafula Chebukati, they suppressed the turnout in Azimio stronghold. Yeah, and also using a bit of the system. Kakamega, do you know the turnout in Kakamega? What about Mombasa? Mombasa was around 50 something. That's how the votes were tilted, because Azimio only needed 69,000 votes to tilt the equation for a runoff. In Nyanza alone, over 700,000 people never voted because of turnout. And what was the cause of a turnout? Of low turnout? Simple. Nomination. So which means they must invest on how they are going to conduct elections, nominations. They must invest on their grassroots networks, because the grassroots networks will tell them that, boss, look here, in here, this is the right candidate. I remember when ODM went for that by-election in Makwiny, and UDA had a candidate that time. You know, when they went for that election, something very funny happened. The local ODM structure advised ODM against giving the certificate to Lori. They actually proposed the UDA guy who ended up winning, because he was in ODM at that time. So this grassroots network, they know what is happening. So they will tell you that the person you are giving the certificate here is weak. If you give him, you are going to lose. And that's how turnout will be increased. If they can do that, I can assure you people normally start voting at 5, at 6. By 9, they will be celebrating. But if they can't, they should stop wasting Kenyans' time. Kenyans should just be ready for another term of William Ruto, and Kenyans should be ready for more pain. Thank you, and may you have a good day. Bye-bye.